Hello, I'm Lee Bernick, Dean of the Greenspan College of Urban Affairs, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Urban Report. In the Urban Report, we like to talk to people around campus and the community, and one of the individuals that's a central figure for us right now at the university is a colleague, Scott Roberts. Scott is the Vice President at the Foundation, and Scott's the Vice President for Development. I think all the development officers work with you and report to you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? I know you're from Kansas, isn't that right? Tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you got into development, and when you came over to UNLV.
Well, I spent a lot of time growing up in Missouri, actually, but when I started my professional fundraising career, I hopped across the border into Kansas and began fundraising originally for the Boy Scouts of America. And so I ended up spending 2 years. I didn't know I was going to be a fundraiser, and like most people going into the fundraising profession, they kind of fall into it by accident. Not very many kids go to college thinking they're going to be a professional fundraiser. So I had the opportunity to work for the Boy Scouts, and a major component of that job was to raise money for the Scouts. But what lured me to the Boy Scouts of America was an opportunity to impact children's lives and help them grow. And the Boy Scouts that's a huge organization that's very well known for sculpting lives of children. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I did programming and membership and worked with adult volunteers, and I loved all those things, which then led me to Pittsburgh State University in southeast Kansas, a Division II university there that my top volunteer actually for the Boy Scouts was the Director of University Development and recruited me away to try a new position that he's creating called the Director of Major Gifts. And I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what that entailed, but I thought that sounded interesting, and he said that he thought I'd be a good fit for that position. And so I applied, and they hired me as one of the first Director of Major Gifts at Pittsburgh State. And my role there was to solicit gifts of $25,000 or more of friends from their College of Technology and their College of Business. So that was an interesting new chapter in my life. I loved that line of work. I did it for 3 years, and then I was promoted internally to oversee all fundraising for that university when my mentor and boss at the time was promoted to vice president. So I then had a team of about 10 that managed the development efforts for that university. We we're in the midst of a $120 million capital campaign that we were trying to wrap up, and I successfully completed that campaign and learned a lot along the way, which led me here to UNLV.
And you've been here how long?
I've been here 2.5 years almost.
So you're sort of new
Yeah.
to not necessarily new to the fundraising, but new to the Valley and to the UNLV, and you're at the foundation. What does the foundation do?
We're good at keeping it a secret because not very many people know. And even on campus, I've asked faculty what they know about the foundation, and rarely do I ever hear the right answer. Most people don't have a clue what we do. So our role at the foundation is to obviously to raise money for UNLV. We accept those gifts, we invest those gifts, we manage the process, we steward and say thank you to our donors. In fact, we just had a very large event of 1,000 people over just a few, I guess, last week, and we brought in Bill Clinton to be our speaker on philanthropy. It was a great event, and we recognized donors at that evening that have given a lifetime of $1 million or more, and so we had a great turnout. But the foundation's efforts in raising money for the university, since most people don't really understand what fundraising is, and I'm pretty sure my parents think I'm doing car washes and selling cookies because they don't understand what it is either. But it is much more than that, and it's engaging people. It's getting people interested in what's going on with the university, because we should be the faces of the university when we're out. And I've got a great team now that I share with all the deans across campus that are representing each college and schools, all the different colleges and schools, and they're out engaging people with their units and telling the great stories about what's going on campus. And
you talked about major gifts, but in reality, I think it's always nice to get big gifts, but the other thing is people, any amount in some, we want people to be engaged in the community and engaged at the university. So we're not just looking for $25,000 gifts, right? I mean,
Absolutely. In fact, we probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 12,000 donors last year. 95 to 97% of those were under $25,000. And so there's a lot of $25 gifts, $50 gifts. In the past 5 years, we've really been emphasizing our phone-a-thon program, which our alumni would get called by a student here at the university asking them to help philanthropy. So that's been a great effort in trying to engage new people, which we hadn't been doing in the past. And we're trying to increase the number of donors that are supporting universities. So 20, 30 years from now, we're not at 12,000, we're at 30,000 donors.
and the money that they give, what's one of the primary areas that the money goes for?
Well, it's always typically it's donor specific. It's wherever their passions are. And so if you can imagine, a lot of our donors have come through the front, what we call the front porch of the university, through intercollegiate athletics. There may be people who didn't go to school here, they just moved here, but they love athletics. And so the athletics is always a great front porch of the institution. A lot of people that maybe have never been donors before entered that way. But also specifically, they like to give to where they graduated from. So if they're a graduate of a specific college, typically they would earmark it for those units.
Okay. And when you say it's earmarked, one of the things that I think some people think the money just goes for administration and everything, but a major chunk of the money is for scholarships for students.
Absolutely.
Right.
Scholarships is a huge area. And actually, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% or more of our gifts are earmarked for a specific purpose. And for those in and out dollars, if you give $25 to the College of Urban Affairs, $25 goes to the College of Urban. There's no management fee on those dollars that come directly in. It's in and out. We just process it. We put it on record, and we thank the donors and issue the charitable gift receipt.
Okay. We're going to have to end this segment. I do want to make one point, though. Gifts to the university through the foundation are tax deductible.
That's
Is that
right. They are.
So we want gifts to the university for us. So again, Scott, thank you. We'll have you back on the Urban Report, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
Something's not right.
My first symptoms were
constant tingling in my toes.
My legs, sometimes they'll go numb.
Double vision.
They said you have multiple sclerosis.
Well, the beginning is the hardest time.
Kind of had to get a grasp on reality.
I had to adapt and change very rapidly.
I had to learn how to drive with my hands. Yeah, that was interesting.
I was a dancer. I don't see walking the way I walk any different than doing a dance. It just looks different. It's a different dance.
You see me have an off day, it doesn't take away from who I am.
A symptom may cause you not to be able to do that anymore. And at one point, I wasn't able to do any of those.
But I would exercise every day.
Since I've been cycling, it's definitely helped my walking.
To make a lot of changes in my life and just adapt to it.
I'm going to acknowledge its presence, I'm not going to discount it, but at the same time, I'm going to try my best to not let it stop me.
It's a fantastic opportunity to be working together with a common goal of curing MS, and sharing is the key.
Think you found every hazard out here today? Think again. The spot you missed could be a killer. That spot on your skin could be skin cancer. Fact is, if you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the kind that kills one person every hour. 1 in 5 Americans is likely to develop a form of skin cancer during their lifetime. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. It's easy. Follow through and check your skin. It could be the save of a lifetime. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
At what age is the color that your skin was meant to be no longer beautiful? Every year, millions of young women try to change the skin they were born with and say they'd die for darker skin. Sadly, some actually do. Melanoma is the second most common cancer in teens and young adults 15 to 29. And one person dies from melanoma every hour. It's time. Change your thinking, not your skin. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
And our guest in this segment is Brian Watcher. Brian are you the executive director? What's the official?
I'm the director of Public and Government Affairs for the Retail Association.
Okay, for the Retail Association of Nevada.
Yes.
So what's the Retail Association of Nevada?
We're a collection of about 1,500 businesses all throughout the state, from Ely to Las Vegas, Carson, Tahoe. And we represent a large section of the retail economy. So whether you're a big box store, whether you're a small independent retailer, a pharmacy, we kind of represent the whole gamut. So it's very interesting. We have a lot of diverse members, a lot of diverse issues that come up, and then we represent them at local and state government.
Okay, so this retail, when you say the box stores and everything, so you Best Buy or Target?
Best Buy, Target, Walmart.
They all become members. Now, do the individual stores become members, or is it just the corporation?
Normally it's the corporation. We deal a lot with individual store managers and issues, as they come up, depending on where they're located, if they're in Henderson or Las Vegas. But it's the corporate that's the member.
And it's the corporate that's a member, but we do use some small retail.
Certainly, a large bulk of it. So if we have 1,500 members, about 1,300 of them are mom and pop, one or two location businesses, and that really kind of creates the majority of our membership.
Okay, and you're the public affairs. What does that mean when you say you're in charge of public affairs?
Certainly. Well, I'm responsible for handling media requests, for making sure that our message is accessible and it's presented in a way that really reflects the needs and desires of our membership. So whether it's getting the opportunity to do shows like this, radio, press releases, just kind of putting out our message. So we do economic bulletins. We had one that we released today on holiday hiring, where we think the amount of retail jobs that are going to be created. Last week we kind of projected what sales were going to be for holiday, and so we kind of use the media as a tool to be able to develop our message and then make sure that legislators or the public are aware of it.
Okay, so we have a message, and you're out there trying to get the message out.
Certainly.
Right? One of the questions I have is, how do you balance out the message for those big box stores? Do they have the same message as that small retail mom and pop store, or how does that all work?
No, they really do. And I think a prime example of that is when you're driving around Las Vegas, you see a lot of anchor or shopping centers that are all closed up. And what normally happens there is the grocery store goes out of business, or the Walmart goes out of business, and that location closes. And then all of a sudden the domino effect happens. So the dry cleaner maybe goes out, the florist goes out, because that foot traffic is no longer there. So you have a major anchor store that was really driving people to that shopping center, and then those small businesses are stuck in a lease, can't leave, or really see a decrease in customers. So there really are the same issues. We find a lot that folks try to differentiate. Well, let's go after big stores, or let's protect the little guy. And it's really a homogeneous kind of message. It's a really homogeneous issue. Everyone is affected by everything.
Okay, and is that same message not only for the big and small, but for different parts of the rural, the Elys or the Elkos? I mean, do they want the same message that we do down here in Las Vegas?
I think our overall message, where we want to be able to operate effectively within the confines of the rules, but we want to be able to hire employees, we want to pay them a decent wage, we want to provide excellent service to our customers, excellent products to our customers, and that's a universal message. Whether you are in Ely or Tonopah or central Las Vegas, it's really kind of the same message. Certainly they have different particular issues, but for the most part, as a state association, we have everyone on board and with one message.
Okay, good. And you talked about at one part at the state level and the local level, coming up in January/February, right? We'll have a legislative session in Carson. Do you go up to Carson?
I do. I move up to Carson City during the legislative session. We have a team that's headquartered in northern Nevada. I handle, during the legislative session, workers' comp and taxation issues for our association, and other members of our group hire or deal with different issues. And we really monitor. There's already about 600 bill draft requests submitted for the legislative session. We're following close to 300 of them as it is. At the end, everything's said and done, we'll probably follow about 900 bills that in some way affect one of our members.
And how do you decide which ones that you really are going to work on or press? I mean, if you have 900 bills, now, of course, 90% of those bills aren't going to go anywhere.
Correct.
Right? But it's still 90 bills or whatever.
Well, you know, and you have to read them all because you're looking for minute details. Paragraph 3 maybe is onerous, or paragraph 4 you really like, so you want to protect that. So you really can't stop reading the redrafts and the reprints. But what we look for are bills that are submitted, you know, that have support, a broad-based support that we think are likely to pass. Maybe bills that are submitted by committees or bills that are submitted by members of the legislative leadership. And so we really look for things that are probably going to be movable.
Okay. And when you say movable, the ones that are going to go through both houses.
Correct. You know,
right?
And there's a 120-day calendar. That's all the constitutional lets the legislature go into, and there are different deadlines. So come April, all bills have to pass the first house. So then a large chunk of those bills that weren't able to pass that first house will fall off, and legislators will look for opportunities to kind of put those ideas into other bills. But at the end of session, we really get to about 1,000 bills that are passed.
Okay. And at the end of the session, then you come back down here to Vegas.
I do.
Okay. And we're going to maybe have you come back after the legislative session and say what happened.
I'd be happy to.
Okay. And we're going to have to end this segment. I appreciate you coming on. Look forward to seeing what happens in the legislative session.
No, I appreciate being here.
Well, thank you very much.
Winston, just one more inning, Grandma.
Ever notice how many things today kids can do without actually moving? A whole lot of things their parents used to do the hard way. So many kids' activities today seem to leave out the activity part, which makes exercise even more important for children. In fact, new research tells us the best time to enhance bone development is during childhood and adolescence. And just getting children to walk an extra 35 minutes a day could spare them the pain of thinning bones later in life. Healthy bones come from healthy habits. Encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving.
Hello.
Hey, Grandma, how about another grape soda?
A public service message on building strong bones for kids from the Pediatric Orthopedic Society of North America and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
If you could see anything in the world, what would it be?
I'd love to see Paris.
I like to see cupcakes falling from the sky.
My daughter, married and happy.
I want to see things the way I used to.
Chances are, someone you love may one day be affected by macular degeneration or glaucoma. Log on to seeabettertomorrow.org or call 1-800-437-2423 to learn about glaucoma and macular degeneration. Call 1-800-437-2423 or log on to seeabettertomorrow.org.
I just want to see more of the things I love.
You could choose to join a gang. You could try the latest drugs. You could even choose to drop out of school. You can try to avoid the difficulties in life with a quick fix, or you can face them head on. She did. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Thank you for waiting or coming back and watching our third segment of this edition of the Urban Report. And it's I'm really fortunate to have on this segment a fellow colleague in the College of Urban Affairs, the coach of our debate team, the Berman Forum, right? Jacob Thompson. Jacob goes by Jake. I'm just going to call you Jake. Is
That's
that
perfect.
okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
And
Thank you.
and you're a faculty member, but you're in charge of the debate team. Why don't you just briefly tell us a little bit about where you came from? I think you came from the Midwest.
That's right. I grew up in Michigan and debated in high school in northern Michigan, and went to Wayne State University in Detroit to get my undergraduate. I debated at Wayne State, got my BA in political science and peace and conflict studies. I went on to get my MA and PhD at the University of Kansas, and I coached debate there for the University of Kansas debate team. They have a long tradition of debate success. Out of graduate school, I got my first job also in the Midwest at the University of Northern Iowa, and was the director of forensics there for 3 years. And then I came here. The rest is history.
And how long have you been here?
This is my 6th year here at UNLV.
The 6th year, and,
Right.
and you came here because we hired you to be doing some of the rhetoric, but primarily, not only, but primarily to work on building up the debate team.
That's right. The team itself was, as you know, eliminated in 1987, I believe, because of budget cuts, and returned afterwards because of a generous gift from the Bermans, and I was hired to get the team up and running.
Okay. And last year we achieved a milestone, and that was that we had our debate team rank in the top 10. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. We were ranked in the top 10 nationally in NDT varsity points. The NDT stands for the National Debate Tournament, and their ranking system is based not just on participation, but on actual success in competition, and is an aggregate of all of the teams on our squad and how they performed. So,
okay, and how many teams do we have on the squad?
this year we have 6 teams on the squad. The year before we had 7. I think that the squad next year will be even a little bit bigger with 7 or 8 teams probably.
Okay, and this year we've had some success. You've won a couple tournaments, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. We won the first 2 tournaments of the year that we went to, the University of Gonzaga, the Jesuit season opener, up in Spokane, Washington. That was what I would consider a mid-major regional tournament with 40-some teams at it. Our top team, Christian Botto and Alex Velto, won that tournament. And the second tournament that we went to was the Idaho State University tournament. Christian and Alex also won that, and they were the first and second individual speakers at the tournament as well.
Okay, so we've won 2 tournaments.
We've won 2.
When will the first set of rankings come out in this year?
The rankings usually come out at the end of each semester, so we'll see some in early December probably for the first semester. Our goal as a team is to be at least in the top 10 again this year, hopefully a little bit better.
Okay.
I think we're well on our
And sometime in the spring we'll have you back too. We've still got some things to talk about here, but we'll have you back to see how we did in the national tournaments. We've gone to the national tournaments the last couple of years, is that right?
Yeah, we've qualified teams to the national debate tournament 4 years in a row. So.
Right, and going to the national debate tournament, just for people who don't know, it's sort of like going to the 64 in basketball, right?
Right, exactly. The national debate tournament's an invitation-only tournament, and it takes the top 78 teams in the nation. For the past 3 years in a row, we've qualified 2 teams to that tournament, so it's like almost the equivalent of qualifying 2 basketball teams to the NCAA tournament.
Right. So we have a few minutes, and one of the major things I want to talk to you about today is an exciting thing that you proposed, and that's the Las Vegas Debate League. That's what isn't that right?
Yeah, the Las Vegas Debate League. This is our new effort to reach out to the Clark County School District and in partnership with them try to foster the growth of policy debate here in high schools here in the CCSD.
Okay, and what we're proposing is to go and try to partner with the school district with 11 high schools. Is that right?
There are 9 high schools this year that are participating, and the program can grow over time. My anticipation is it will be at 11 or 12, maybe a few more even next year, and after that, who knows how many. But last year, there were only 4 schools in the 50 high schools in Clark County that had policy debate teams. So getting up to 9 is a big jump.
Okay, and one of the things that I understand about the Urban Debate League is that if you put these debate teams in some of the low-income neighborhood high schools, that they've had real success around the country. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. There are several examples all over the nation in large cities and metropolitan areas with what you refer to as urban debate leagues. They have had enormous success in places like Baltimore, New York, Chicago, LA, the Bay Area, all around the country. And one of the best things that they do is that they give kids a positive incentive to learn, a place to belong, and a place where it's okay to be smart. And they have a very strong effect. There's this great study that studies 10 years of participation in the Chicago Urban Debate League that indicates that it substantially improves standardized test scores, substantially improves students' readiness for college as it's measured.
And their proclivity to go to school.
And and their graduation rates and their acceptance at college. Some ridiculous, like 99% of the students in the Chicago Urban Debate League graduated, and a huge percentage of them actually went on to college.
Okay, and that's what we're trying to do. And we're going to have you come back because we want to talk some more about this. This is a real partnership between UNLV and the community. Another example of how Greenspun College of Urban Affairs is reaching out to the community to improve the quality of life. I want to thank you for watching the Urban Report, and I want to thank you, Jake, for being on the Urban Report, and we'll see you next time at the Urban Report.